Good morning, everyone. So let's start with our second video of this series of solving HackerRank interview preparation kit. So following the sequential order, today we'll be solving counting values problem from the warm-up challenges. So let's start the interview preparation kit module, and then we will go to the subsection called warm-up challenges, and we will solve the counting values problem as we have already told you. So first, always spend some considerable amount of time in understanding and reading the problem statement, because reading a problem statement and deriving what are the requirement and the objective is very important. So here it's written that an avid hiker keeps meticulous records of their hike. During the last hike that he took, exactly steps for each step, it was noted if it was an uphill or a downhill step. Hiker always start and end at the sea level. So each step up or down represented one unit change in altitude. We define the following terms. A mountain is a sequence of consecutive steps above the sea level, starting with step up from the sea level and ending with the step down to the sea level. A valley is a sequence of consecutive steps below sea level, starting with a step down from the sea level and ending with a step up to the sea level. So this is the problem statement. So there are two kinds of movement the hiker can make to go up and down. So our objective is to count the how many valleys or the down steps the or how many valleys the hiker takes in his entire journey of uh, of hiking. So for that it's pretty easy problem statement, and we will also look at the constraint, like what would be the constraint of this question. So those things are important. So I have already solved it, so let's just erase it. So I will just the boiler code is already present here, so I will just write some code. So as I have already told you that naming convention is very important. So don't give your variable name like x and y, because after like 1 or 2 months when you be seeing your code, you won't be able to derive any sense out of those. So always give a proper naming convention to your variables or to anything that you're writing in your codes, and always maintain some comments so that it's easier for you to debug it in future. So we'll use two variables. One would be the elevation. Elevation means what is the height, what's the current height of the hiker. So the usually the hiker starts at sea level, so you will take the current height as 0, and the valley count, the number of valleys the hiker crossed during his entire journey, and that is at the first step it would be 0. So then we will run a loop for steps in path. So the step value could be either U or D. U stands for going up and D stands for going down. So if steps equal to U, so if the hiker step is going up, the automatically the elevation is increasing. So if and it should be plus equal to 1, not 1. So with subsequent elevation, the height would keep on going on increasing. So these two lines are the most important thing to understand it. So if elevation is equal to 0, the valley count would increase by 1. So what is saying is this: for example, the hiker is going up, but after few steps, the hiker goes. For example, hiker goes down, and let's just start writing the code for the going down steps. As for steps, then I will explain this one. It will be much more clearer. and at last we would return our objective is counting the number of values. So for the if the hiker goes up, the elevation would be increased by 1 unit, and if the hiker goes down, the elevation would be decreased by 1 unit, which is very important. So for example, the hiker have gone 3 steps down. So our current elevation is -3, and after that the hiker goes like for 3 or 4 steps up. And for example, if the hiker goes for 3 steps up, then the hiker reached the current sea level. So we could easily derive that the hiker has crossed a valley. So when the hiker is going subsequent step up, and it will check if the elevation is equal to 0. For example, for a value like d and u. So for the first 3 unit, for first 3d, the value would be equal to -3, and after that the value would automatically, after giving +1, so plus -3 +1 and +1, the subsequent +1 would automatically result in 0. So once it result in 0, it will automatically go to this loop where the elevation is equal to 0, and we will count the value would increase by 1. And after that, if the hiker goes 1 step down and goes 1 step up, then the value would be, right now would be -1 and +1, and it will again become 0. So here the value count would automatically again be increased by 1, so it will become +2. So it's work in this process. It's pretty simple code. It's just a few lines of code. I could write it even shorter lines, but to make it more easier to understand, I just use more steps. So that's it, guys. So I will just run the code and hopefully it will process it properly. Yeah, it does that, and I will submit the code. It will take some time, but it's it's submitted, because generally we are using kind of a brute force approach to this one. But anyway, it just does the work, and it does not show any runtime error. So yeah, so our code is good to go. Okay then, guys, thank you, and stay tuned for next week for the our third solution in the warm-up challenges is jumping the clouds, which is pretty interesting problem. Okay, have a nice day.